Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First off, for the honor of being appointed and serving on the Budget Committee. I also would just like to thank my colleagues that served with me on the majority party. I really appreciated your diligence, preparedness, and the comedy that we enjoyed. And to the chairperson, I said this the other day at the meeting, I'm going to repeat it again. I've raised 3 daughters and trying to instill in them certain characteristics, and you, Madam Chairwoman, are the personification of those things. And to my Republican colleagues, all the colleagues, but particularly on the committee, I do respect you much for the same reasons of my Democratic colleagues, for your effort, the time you put in. And I did say to you, when we voted this out of committee on Monday, I'd be disappointed in you if you voted for the budget because you were looking at the document with only maybe an hour's time before the vote. But I'd be disappointed in you if you didn't vote for it after you had that opportunity. Now, everybody's talking about countless hours, so I had a little bit of time. I looked back. I count 13 meetings that we put it together in. Over 112 hours of testimony. So I guess I just take a little umbrage, and certainly the committee members should, as it relates to, oh, this is being rushed, nobody's looking at it, whatever it is. This was a meticulous, methodical, detailed process that took place over those number of meetings over a great number of months. Now, I think the budget, for a moment aside, back to where we were in, March of 2020. I was a little afraid. I don't know about you. And it wasn't necessarily about getting COVID. Yeah, maybe I was worried about my parents and the little ones from a health perspective, but other than frontline workers, we're all told to stay home. We're just about to be working on a fiscal year. What would that mean for the 9 million people here and our budgets? How would we manage that? Congratulations to us all, because we stand here 2.5 years later with an unprecedented sum of money that has come in a way we'll talk about for a moment, based upon the wisdom of those policies. Now, how did that money come in? It came in through sales tax. People are buying a lot of stuff. Through income tax. Yeah, we added a millionaire's tax. The millionaire population has grown, and people have made more money ever, ergo why we ended up with so much in the coffers. And as I've heard, the worst business environment in the world, the corporate business tax set records. This budget, to all of my colleagues, has no new taxes and no new fees. That should be a mantra that maybe my brother can get up and say after I finish each sentence. No new taxes, no new fees. We all wax eloquently about property tax relief. $2 billion. 2.1 million households are going to be the beneficiary on some level, maybe as low as $450, as high as $1,500. Bringing back levels of property taxes to 2017. Should that be something we are all proud of? Should that be something we should all support of? We talk about property tax relief. We're about to do it. Energy receipt taxes. I'm looking at the research. It's been at least 12 years, if not 20. Money that's going to go directly to each of our municipalities, split up vis-a-vis $75 million, that goes directly to property tax relief. Anybody voting against this budget that represents a town that's not going to take that money? I don't think so. Look, we all, I think, voted unanimously, and if I'm throwing somebody not remembering that they didn't, as it related to support, our country's support for Ukraine, big surprise. That resulted ultimately in a spike in gas prices. And that ultimately results in inflation. I'm not saying it's the state legislature's fault, but if you want to step away from those principles as it relates to gas prices, well, maybe that's the way to turn back in a different direction. But we've recognized inflation in this budget, and we're poo-pooing driver's licenses and marriage licenses and state parks and professional licenses and even school supplies. But that's real money to real people who might not know any of our names, but are going to be the beneficiaries of real dollars. So why are we here? Do you ever ask yourself that? We mentioned school construction. We know there's been a great learning loss as it relates to COVID. We know.
He's on the bill.
I'm just thinking, and I'm just going button, button, button. Look, as far as the learning loss, I want to stay on the bill, and I don't want to belabor this, but we know, and my colleagues, the testimony from Patterson, that kids, when they're in an environment that's newer, or at least not substandard, they learn better. Maybe we can just make a little dent in that, not only in SDA districts, but also in all districts. Infrastructure, the poor commuter going through the Lincoln Tunnel, access to Penn Station and the rat hole that's become. We're not only going to do something about that, but we're going to support jobs, good paying jobs. We all talk that have sat in budget in the past about our constituents. Isn't that why we're here? And at DMV and at the Department of Labor, because of the antiquated computer systems that are there, they don't serve very well. We're doing something about our constituents through this budget. Mentioned lead paint. Think about the child living in that situation now and the neurological impact, again, on kids who don't know who we are, but whose lives we're going to change today because of this budget. Anybody have a grandkid and watch their children that are adult children struggle and how they're going to pay for childcare? Or nieces or nephews? $300 million to incentivize that industry so it's affordable and that it's there. Why are we here? Anybody hear about the children and the mental health toll and youth suicide? $55 million to deliver services. And it doesn't matter if they're Republican, Independent, or Democratic children, because they're all of our children. I heard in the comments earlier that an upgrade's nothing to brag about. Beyond the 2 full pension payments for the first time in forever, supporting 800,000 people in that system that supported for us through all their years of service, we went through 11 downgrades. For the first time in 17 years, 2 upgrades. That's extraordinary. And it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again because we took $6 billion, and as opposed to spending it, and God knows there's a lot of great things to spend it on, but we showed a discipline and a way to be fiscally conservative to hold it. And not only to hold it because Moody says it should be 30 days and Pew says it should be 10%, and we've actually exceeded that because we've held a little extra. A rainy day fund, by any other name, is a rainy day fund to think about, well, maybe if there is a recession. And that doesn't even get into the $5.2 billion of debt defeasance. Again, facts are stubborn things. It is what it is. That's what we're spending to do that. Mr. Speaker, I am incredibly proud of all of us. This is the most fiscally responsible as well as reflective of our values of a budget that says something about who we are as a state. And I will proudly cast my vote in favor.